Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Trace, but some of you might know me better as Let's Play Dark Souls HD, and welcome to episode 3 of the Let's Play Dark Souls HD Q&A. Naturally, I am your host. I received 99 questions altogether, so I'll be splitting this Q&A into 2 separate videos. Today we're going to tackle part 1, where I will answer the first 50 questions. But before we start answering questions, check out this parry. Boom! Get wrecked, son! Gadoosh! Good stuff. So the first contender on part 1 of episode 3 of the Let's Play Dark Souls HD Q&A is an incredible individual who is very near and dear to my heart. His name is Lloyd. You will recognize him under the comments section as Stray Jello, and when I live stream on Twitch you will recognize him as Rainbow Mania. He is one of the few, the proud, the moderators. Lloyd asked me 3 questions. His first question is, what is your favorite thing about Monster Hunter? Well, Lloyd, my favorite thing about Monster Hunter is not necessarily something that has to do with the physical game. My favorite thing about Monster Hunter is the memories. When I think about Nick, Seth, and I staying up all night when we were kids, jamming through Monster Hunter with our PSPs, and eating Chinese food and drinking Dr. Pepper, and just no past, no future, no worries, just the moment. Those are some of the greatest memories of my life. And even beyond that, when I think about how I met people like you, and Jessica, and Gabe, and Christopher, I have this honest belief that when you play Monster Hunter, you are destined to meet people that you will cherish for a long time. So when I think back on things like all of our Savage Joe runs, you trying to cook meat with the torch, those are all memories that are going to have a special place in my heart for the rest of eternity. So that's what does it for me when it comes to Monster Hunter. It's all about the memories. The second question that Lloyd asked me is, can you tell us a story? And the answer is yes. I'll tell you a really good story. I'm going to tell you the story of how Nick and I ran away from crazed rednecks. It all started sophomore year in high school. We were both 15 years old. During the school year, I used to spend the night at Nick's house every weekend. He lived in a neighborhood right off of the highway called Apple Creek. And we had this custom. Every time I spent the night at his house, we would wait till about 10 or 11 o'clock at night, till it got real dark, and we would walk up the highway about half a mile to a gas station called Sam's Food Mart. And whenever we had cash, we would buy snacks, drinks, whatever. I remember one night we were walking up there, and we got there a bit late. It was about 12:30, and they were closed. So we were a bit disappointed, and on our way back, with disappointment comes great ideas, I guess you could say. There's not a car in sight, and we're walking against traffic, and we see these headlights coming in the distance. It was a dark blue pickup truck, and Nick says, we should flip this car off. I said, I don't know if that's a good idea. And he goes, oh come on, what do we have to lose? So I figured, YOLO. So of course, as soon as this truck goes by, we both throw our middle fingers up in the air, and just screech like girls at them. And after that, the only thing we hear is the screeching of brakes. That sound alone was all it took for both of us to start running as fast as we could back to his house. The first thing I noticed when I turned around, should never have looked back while we were running, was that there were actually 2 guys in the bed of the truck that had jumped out and started running at us on foot, while the truck itself turned around and started speeding its way over to Nick's neighborhood. There is a post office at the tip of his neighborhood, and there's an abandoned house behind it with a bunch of pine trees growing against it. We ran straight past this post office instead of trying to go through the neighborhood to his house, and we both Superman dove into these pine bushes against the house. Well, we were both in there, heaving from exhaustion, laying on the ground in the dirt, trying to just pray to whatever gods out there may pity us and help us for being such idiots. I remember one of those guys ran up right over to the bush we were inside. He had no idea we were in there. He was standing directly above us. His feet were like 3 inches away from my face. and I could just see his breath in the cold just heaving, just shooting into the air, just clouds of it, furiously breathing, looking for us. But he didn't find us. And then I noticed that they had a big spotlight on their truck. They must have been hunters or something, because this thing was, like, obnoxiously bright. They were, like, just shining the whole neighborhood looking for us. They were driving through people's yards, tearing up their grass. I remember watching them crush someone's bird bath. They ran right over somebody's bird bath with their truck, looking for us, shining that light around. Well, when they finally got back in the truck and pulled towards the edge of the neighborhood to get back on the highway, I heard them say one final thing. The dude in the truck yelled, "I don't care if it takes me the rest of my life, I'll find you. And when I do, I'm gonna rip your balls off." That's what he shouted at us, and then they pulled out onto the highway, never to be seen again. So we finally crawled our way out of there, and started walking back to his house, and when we got back to his room, we sat down, turned our PSPs back on, started playing Monster Hunter. There was a bit of a silence, and I finally broke the silence and said, "That was kind of cool." And he just agreed. He was like, "That was kind of cool." So it was just kind of one of those things where it's terrifying in the moment, but since we're both alive, it suddenly became hilarious. Logic, I don't know how that works, but I'll be totally honest with you, I was absolutely terrified when that happened, and so was he. So that is the story of how Nick and I escaped the crazed rednecks. Lloyd's third and final question for me was, if you could relive any moment of your life, what would it be? And this was a tough question. I had to put a lot of thought into this, and I came to a conclusion. If I could relive any moment of my life, it would probably be the day that I graduated high school. The overwhelming sense of freedom and accomplishment, and the amount of reflections that I had over the course of the last 4 years of my life, it all just kind of funneled into my brain in such a, I don't know, the sensation is indescribable. I still remember exactly how I felt on that day. The idea of never having to go back to school, moving on to bigger and better things, being able to go become an adult and go be somebody, to go have value in the universe, and go accomplish whatever I want, be my own person. It was an amazing feeling. And I would probably, at this point, I would kill to relive it. The next question that I received is by Frank Saru, and he asked me, what got you into video games and what got you into Souls games? Well, the thing that got me into video games was definitely Nintendo 64. I got my Nintendo 64 when I was very young, and some of my favorite titles were the original Spider-Man, Gauntlet Legends, Turok the Dinosaur Hunter, GoldenEye 007, Banjo-Kazooie, and I also really liked playing Mario Kart 64. I had played video games before then. My neighbor, kid that I was friends with, had a Super Nintendo. We used to play Zelda, Mario, Donkey Kong, and The Simpsons on there. But I was more of an outdoors kid. Not after I got my Nintendo 64. That was when my obsession with video games was spawned into my brain, never to leave again. And the thing that got me into Souls games was, when I got my PlayStation 3, I was 15 years old. I was a sophomore in high school. The very first game that I got for it was Demon's Souls. And let me tell you, that was the start of a masochistic addiction. I got my PlayStation 3 after I came home from school. I think it was like a Monday or a Tuesday. I played it from the time I got home until I had to go to school the next morning. That's how into it I was. It was so hard and so frustrating, yet I couldn't stop. There was just something about that game that it just refused to let me quit playing. The only reason I stopped playing at all was because I had to get on the bus and go to school. Man, talk about memories. The next question is by Retarded Kit Kat. And happy birthday, by the way. I know I already told you happy birthday in the respond comment, but happy birthday, man. I'm very happy to have you with us for another year. And he asked me, what is your favorite soda brand or drink? Well, I don't drink soda. Soda's bad. I gave soda up about 2 years ago. It was totally worth it. but I really like tea. My drink is definitely tea. I'm a tea connoisseur. I like sweet tea, I like green tea, I like mint tea, I like passion fruit tea, I like dragon fruit tea, I like all kinds of tea. That is my drink, I'm a tea guy. The next question is by Mr. Chaotic Dude, and he asked me, so far, what's your favorite aspect of Bloodborne? Well, since I haven't completed the game, so far I have to say the lore, the backstory, the ideology behind Bloodborne. It's really heavily influenced by H.P. Lovecraft, which is kind of interesting, but I really like the idea behind the Great Ones, and how it all revolves around like the cosmos and the stars and outer space, like aliens and shit. It's crazy. You can tell that there's definitely some incredibly diverse ideology behind Bloodborne and the way that they see the world. And, you know, the whole insight, eyes on the inside and stuff like that. It's so cool. That's my favorite part so far. The next question is by Kane Wilkinson. And Kane asked me, do you like that younger people like myself are playing Dark Souls and Demon Souls and Bloodborne instead of the current mainstream titles? Well, I believe that people should play whatever they want. I'm not gonna say that, you know, Dark Souls and Demon Souls is superior to any of the other mainstream titles like Call of Duty, Destiny, Halo, stuff like that, League of Legends or whatever. I don't mind people playing those games, but I suppose, yeah, I mean, it's definitely good to know that younger people are interested in the Souls game. I mean, I'm a young guy, and I'm playing the Souls games, but the more people that play the Souls games, the more the community can expand, and the more it expands, the better the content that FromSoft can create for us. So, I guess, yeah, it is definitely a good thing that more people are playing the Souls games. Younger people, older people, no matter what the generation is, it's just good to have people playing them. Know what I mean? The next question is by Matthew Dilige, and he asked me, are you going to play the new Dragon's Dogma Online? I would love to, but here's the problem. Dragon's Dogma didn't sell very well over here in the West, so you know how Capcom is when it comes to that stuff, we may not get it. Now, I don't want to be pessimistic, I want to be optimistic about this. I really hope we get it because, in my opinion, online multiplayer was the only thing that stopped Dragon's Dogma from being the perfect game. So, Dragon's Dogma Online? That means Dragon's Dogma with the only thing that stopped it from being a 10 out of 10? Hell yeah, I'm gonna play it. I just hope we get it. The next question is by Raf Schwass, and they asked me, what starting weapon is best in Bloodborne? Well, the best starting weapon in Bloodborne is, quite frankly, whichever weapon you want to use. See, Bloodborne, like every other Souls game, is all about versatility. Somebody like me, who didn't know if I wanted strength or skill in the beginning, and I kept them relatively even, the Saw Cleaver was perfect for that, because it has the same scaling for both of those stats. So it worked out for me. If you want to go with strength, you're definitely going to want to go with the Hunter's Axe because it scales with strength, it hits incredibly hard. But if you're a skill guy, obviously the Threaded Cane's going to be your best friend. I tried the Threaded Cane off screen, and I gotta say, there were a couple enemies that you're really going to struggle against if you use that weapon, but who knows? It's all about your playstyle. It's all about how you play the game. The next question is not a question at all, it is by Pro Elite, and he said, love you. Love you too, buddy. The next question is actually a large series of questions by Ripinjaya Saran. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I hope I did. I probably didn't, but forgive me. You know who you are. And he said, rate the following games in order of your preference. Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Bloodborne, on the basis of the following parameters: level difficulty, boss difficulty, and quality of weapons. For level difficulty, it goes Dark Souls, Demon Souls, or no, it goes Bloodborne, Demon Souls, Dark Souls. For boss difficulty, it goes Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Demon Souls. And for quality of weapons, it goes Bloodborne, Dark Souls, Demon Souls. His next question is, do you think that playing the Souls series changed your life? If so, how? The answer is yes. Playing the Souls games vastly changed my life. The reason I say that is because if I didn't play these games, I never would have made this YouTube channel. And when I think about living in a reality where I didn't have you guys, and I wasn't doing this for you, I shudder at the thought of that. It's a life that I don't want to think about. Because I love doing what I do. I love doing this for you guys. And I love the Souls games. I love them. I don't know what I'd be playing other than Monster Hunter if I wasn't playing these games. If I honestly spent all of my time playing like first-person shooters and stuff, instead of discovering games like, you know, the Souls games, I don't think my appreciation of video games would be anywhere near the level that it is right now. His next question is, if you could do a voiceover of any NPC from the Souls series, who would it be? Definitely the Canehurst Hunter in the Cathedral, the guy that killed Eileen. I was so disappointed that he didn't have a dialogue that I almost cried. Because when you approach him at the end of that quest line, it feels so much like he should have had something to say regarding Eileen. They seemed so like they had a bitter grudge towards each other because she said, "Don't go any further, this is my fight." And he put the hurt on her. I mean, she was dead practically. He should have had something to say, and I totally would have voiced for him. His next question is, will you be doing an expert walkthrough of Bloodborne? Absolutely. It's probably going to be coming, I want to say, midsummer. Probably about a month and a half from now, something like that. Because I got to beat the game a few more times before I get all my research together with a strategy guide and everything to make the ultimate Bloodborne walkthrough. So yeah, you better believe it, man. Bloodborne walkthrough is coming in hot. His other question is, would you consider adding a way by which some of us grateful fans could donate to your channel? And you guys know how I feel about this. I definitely don't ever want to ask for your money. I would feel really bad. But if you look down in the description, there is a link to my Twitch channel. And my Twitch channel has a donate button on it. And I would never ask for your money, I promise. Because I'd feel really bad. But if you honestly want to donate to help me fuel the channel and increase its quality, that is the way that you're going to be able to do it right there. The donate button on my Twitch page. And his final question is, please tell us about your childhood while growing up. How many siblings did you have, and which part of the US did you grow up in? My childhood was epic. I was definitely an outdoors kind of kid. I had two really good friends growing up in the same neighborhood as me. And our neighborhood was like our Middle Earth. Everything was an adventure. All day, every day. I have two siblings. I have an older sister and a younger sister. I am in the middle. And I have lived in the same place ever since I was born, Cincinnati, Ohio. That's where I'm growing up. The next question is by Skaith Souls. Skaith's a good dude. He's been around on this channel for a while now. And he's also got his own YouTube channel. You should go check him out too. He asked me, what is your favorite quote from a video game or anime? I've got both. My favorite quote from a video game is definitely what the hooded guy says from the first Kingdom Hearts, in the cave with all the writing on it, where the door doesn't open. He says, "One who knows nothing can understand nothing." And you'd be shocked how far that quote will stick with you, all the way up even into Kingdom Hearts 2, because it holds true. My favorite quote from an anime is definitely Vegeta's speech to Kid Buu in Season 9 of Dragon Ball Z. It's after Goku has already fought numerous rounds with Kid Buu, and he's in Super Saiyan 3 form, and he's trying to gather energy so he can keep fighting, and he's relying on Vegeta to hold Kid Buu off, even though he's nowhere near strong enough to face him. Kid Buu rips Vegeta apart, he beats him into a bloody pulp, finally just does a finale super attack on him that turns him into a crater, just a smoking crater in the ground, and he's just covered in blood. Then Kid Buu walks away, and he's like singing and laughing, and he's proud because he thinks he killed Vegeta. But then Vegeta gets up, and he says, "What's so funny, freak?" And Kid Buu turns around and just doesn't even know how to handle it. He doesn't know how Vegeta even survived. He's terrified. And he says, "What did you think, huh? That I would roll over and die from an attack like that? You're nothing, just a trickster. I am a warrior, the Saiyan Prince, Vegeta." And then he powers up into Super Saiyan form again and starts fighting Kid Buu, even though he knows he can't win. Ah, chills every time. The next question is by Death by Book, and they asked me, what other YouTubers do you like watching? Well, my favorite YouTuber hands down is Epic Name Bro. That guy is my hero. He's every bit of the reason my channel even exists. He's always showing me new music, new video games, and other YouTubers that definitely deserve spotlight. He's just really amazing. He's incredibly inspirational. I love watching him. I enjoy his content more than any other YouTuber. I also really like Markiplier. Markiplier is really good to watch on a bad day. If you're not feeling so good, you go watch Markiplier. Your day will flip-flop immediately. I also like a couple of other troll channels, like Iron Pineapple, Dark Souls Urban, Only Afro. Those guys are hilarious. I'm also a big fan of Praise the Sun, and his channel has been growing just rapidly over the past year. He went, I think over the course of like 1 year, he went from 2,000 subscribers and now he's at 25,000. That's crazy. So, yeah, he's definitely cool. I suggest watching his content too. The next question is by Raven's Agenda 1, and they ask me, what was your favorite moments as the Rock Samurai? I hate to sound bitter about this, but my favorite moment as the Rock Samurai was when I deleted him. The Rock Samurai's greatest moment was definitely seppuku, because once I realized that everyone in the Dark Souls 2 community was a Habal monster with a dex weapon, I realized that it was just a bad idea, and he needed to go, because I was definitely not going to contribute to the scum. The next question that I received is by Ricard1414, and Ricard asked me, so which hero would you rather be for the rest of your life? The Phantom or Tarzan? Tarzan all the way, brother. If I could spend my life swinging through the trees with Phil Collins in the background, my life would be complete. Wake up every day, and the first thing you hear is, "For the power to be strong, and the wisdom to be wise. All these things will come to you in time." Yeah, I'll take Tarzan. The next question that I received is by The M Does Gaming, and they asked me, what is your favorite Disney movie? My favorite Disney movie is a tie between Mulan and Pocahontas. The reason I say that is because I really like the message that these movies portray. Mulan teaches you to be brave and to stand up for the people you love. And Pocahontas teaches a message of equality. Doesn't matter what our skin color is or where we're from. Humans are meant to coexist in this world. We are all equal. Even if our ideals and our appearances are different, we have the same value. That and the music from both of those movies is absolutely perfect. Not a day of my life goes by where I don't sing "I'll Make a Man Out of You" and "Colors of the Wind" at least once each. I'm a Disney man. The next question is by Killerovic, and they ask me, will you be playing Souls-like games like Lords of the Fallen? I will not be playing Lords of the Fallen. I was incredibly disappointed with the way that game turned out. It was not what I expected it would be. But I don't know if you can consider it Souls-like, but I have been looking at The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I'm looking forward to trying that game because it looks fantastic. Not sure if I'll be uploading it on my channel, but I'm definitely going to be playing it. And I'll let you know how it goes. But Dragon's Dogma Online is something that I'm heavily looking forward to. I really hope that they localize it to the West because we deserve it. The next question is by Daniel Johnson, and he asked me 4 questions. Have you played Mortal Kombat 10 and have you enjoyed it? Have you ever played the SMT series, and if so, what are your favorite games? Would you rather have high health or shitty stamina? Why did you dislike Dark Souls 2, or why didn't you find it interesting? I have not played Mortal Kombat 10. I've played all the previous games, and I've enjoyed them so far, so I don't know if I like Mortal Kombat 10 yet. I was really pumped to play as the Predator. I know he's a DLC character that looks pretty cool, because I love fighting games. I have never played Shin Megami Tensei. I've heard a lot about them. It's more of an anime-based game, kind of like Persona, but from what I understand, there are a ton of them, and I've not played any of them, unfortunately, so I can't say. I'd probably rather have high health, because shitty stamina is a negative, and high health is a positive. So, if you ask me if I'd rather have something good versus something bad, yeah, I'll take the good thing. High health sounds better than shitty stamina. And I didn't necessarily dislike Dark Souls 2. I love the PvP in that game. I just didn't like it as well as Dark Souls or Demon Souls. Definitely not as well as Bloodborne. So Dark Souls 2 is definitely my least favorite of the Souls games, but I don't necessarily dislike it. I still think that it has a lot to offer. It's very different because it has a different developer. So I can't knock it for being different. I'm not gonna say that it's inferior to the other Souls games. That's not fair to the developers, but yeah. The next question is by Tyler Passwater, and Tyler asked me, what is it like being left-handed? Being left-handed is kind of unique. I think being left-handed is the reason that I'm artsy. I'm actually very good at drawing. I'm a kinesthetic learner. I learn things hands-on, because the left hemisphere of my brain is supposedly dominant over the right, and the left hemisphere of the brain contains things like imagination, creativity, I believe memory is over there, and stuff like that, just motor skills, other things. I think that's why I am the way that I am. It has a lot to do with the left part of my brain taking over. The next question is by Ian Geist, and Ian asks me, how long do you plan to run this channel? The answer is until I die. This channel is definitely my main focus right now. It's a very, very time-consuming hobby of mine that I try to focus on as much as I can. Even when I'm at work during the day, all I ever think about is how I can improve this channel, what I can do to better it, it's what I can do to make my content more enjoyable and reach out to more people. So, I'm definitely going to be running this channel for a long time. I won't ever lose interest in it, I can promise you that. The next question is by Nia Low, and they asked me, what are your thoughts about speedrunning community of Dark Souls games and Bloodborne? Well, I'm not a speedrunner myself, I can tell you that. But I admire the speedrunners, people like Lobos Jr. I know that there are a couple others, but he's the one that I watch mainly, and I respect those people. Some people have negative opinions of them. They say that, oh, speedrunning the game is an insult to the creators, you're supposed to play it and enjoy it. Well, all those people that speedrun, they have obviously played the game through normally once already. I mean, of course they've appreciated it for what it is, but that's what they do. And when they live stream or upload YouTube videos, that's what the people who follow them, subscribe to them or whatever, that's what they want to see. So now that they've already played through the game once to enjoy it just so they can see what it is, they're gonna do what those thousands of people that show up to their streams want to see them do. Speedrun it. So I hold nothing against those people. I think that what they do is really cool. Watching them, you will learn a lot. You will learn about shortcuts you never knew about. You will learn super effective ways to kill bosses that you didn't know about. To me, that kind of stuff is really cool. I mean, I definitely have high respect for the speedrunners. I think that they're really, really good at what they do, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's interesting. I just don't do it myself. I lack the ability. The next question is by Villager. Villager asked me, if you had to choose between a golden whale statue that turned into a spear or a giant mallet that shifted into a big club, pick one and explain the reason and why you chose said weapon. I would have to go with a giant mallet that shifts into a big club, because I gotta have my bong. That's just how I am. If I can't bong people, then my world is just not right. But if I had a golden whale statue that turned into a spear, I'd probably sell it, so I could have two giant mallets that shift into a big club. That way I could have dual bong. Double the bong. Double the win. The next question is by Seth Brown, and Seth asked me, what are your thoughts on the somewhat elitist Souls Blood community? Is there any chance of a non-FromSoft Let's Play in the near future? Well, I know that a lot of people in this community can be kind of elitist. Like, they say that, you know, nothing ever beats Demon Souls, or nothing tops Dark Souls, or some people are just Souls elitists as a whole. They think that nothing compares to the Souls series in general. But, I mean, as far as, you know, elitists within the Souls community, like, I mean, Demon Souls elitists or Dark Souls elitists, those people, their brains are just in the wrong place. I mean, it's not fair to the developers to constantly bicker about how the series is getting worse or whatever, because, I mean, they are constantly working hard to create better games for us based on our feedback. So,
I don't know. And the people who are just like, you know, Souls elitists in general, they think that nothing compares to the Souls games as a whole. Those people are the same way. I mean, I love the Souls games. I really, really love my Souls games. They are my favorite franchise aside from Monster Hunter. But at the same time, there are other games out there that I really enjoy too. I mean, I love playing Nazi zombies on Call of Duty. Evolved is incredibly fun. I could put so many hours into that game if I wasn't playing Bloodborne. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I think being even outside of video games, being any form of elitist is wrong, in my opinion. It's very arrogant and closed-minded. And I'm not going to be doing too many things in the near future that are away from FromSoft stuff because I need to do the Bloodborne expert walkthrough and I also have to do Scholar of the First Sin. One thing that I'm contemplating putting on my channel is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, but that's probably going to be about it. The next question is by Dan Cosman, and Dan asked me, what do you think about UFOs and extraterrestrial life, and what is your favorite anime villain? My opinion on UFOs and aliens and stuff, a lot of the stuff that you see on the internet is fake, and that's where you get most of your information on that stuff, is the internet. And everybody says, oh, Area 51 is real, and they're hiding aliens, that's why you can't see it on Google Maps, and all that kind of stuff. My opinion on aliens and UFOs, I've never seen a UFO. Everything I've ever seen across the sky was definitely an airplane. And I've never run into an alien before, or any other kind of extraterrestrial life. So, I'll believe that stuff when I see it, I guess. And my favorite anime villain is definitely Itachi Uchiha. And before any of you guys say he's not a villain, yes, I know he turned out to be good and everything. It ended up being that he didn't have a choice but to be bad. That doesn't matter. From the very beginning of the original Naruto, all the way up until like halfway through Shippuden, you were led to believe that he was a villain. So I am considering Itachi Uchiha to be a villain. He is my favorite anime villain of all time. He's one of my favorite anime characters, period, but he definitely tops all the other villains, as far as I'm concerned. The next question is by Lone Pilgrim. Mr. Pilgrim asked me, favorite Kingdom Hearts character and least favorite and why? My favorite Kingdom Hearts character is definitely Roxas, because the role that he plays. He was Sora's nobody. He is the shell that was created when Sora became a Heartless. But the role that he played was so real, and yet so fake. In Twilight Town, where he was living, while Sora's memories were regenerating, he had friends, and he had a family, and he had enemies, and he had rivals and goals and ambitions. Everything about his life was so real, and it mattered. It had such an importance. And yet at the same time, he was nothing. He was, you know, pun intended, a nobody. Because his life ended as soon as Sora came back. And yet, he was a member of Organization 13. I find it fascinating that Roxas was also chosen by the Keyblade, even though he wasn't Sora. He was just Sora's nobody, Sora's shell. And yet the Keyblade still chose him as well, because he was an entity of Sora. And that's why Riku fought Roxas and asked him, he said, why do you have the Keyblade? So, I think it's really amazing that Roxas had such a strong tie to Sora, even though he technically wasn't a person. And my least favorite Kingdom Hearts character is definitely Donald. I cannot stand the sound of Donald's voice, and I hate that he never fucking heals me when I fight. It's so annoying. The next question is by Timely Raccoon. Timely Raccoon asked me, what gaming consoles do you have? Well, Timely Raccoon, I have PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, Nintendo 64, I have a new Nintendo 3DS with the weird C-stick button. It's very useful for Monster Hunter. I still have my God of War Edition PSP that is red with the silver Kratos tattoo on the back. I have a PlayStation Vita, and I have my gaming computer rig. So that's everything that I've got. The next question is by Turtle Twist Motivation, and they asked me, do you think there will be a third Dark Souls? I honestly hope not. I think Dark Souls has run its course. Not that I think they would do a bad job, it's just, I don't want to see any more of Dark Souls. I mean, I'm ready for new, fresh content. Bloodborne is incredible, it's very refreshing, but to be honest, I would really not mind if FromSoft would branch out into a new series, kind of like what they did with Bloodborne. Basically a Souls game, but not a part of the Souls series. That would be cool. If they would continue doing that in the future, I would be happy. Next question is by Kool-Aid Man. Kool-Aid Man asked me, what is your favorite flavor of Kool-Aid? The answer is none. I'm not a Kool-Aid drinker. Never have been, never will be. There's something about weird, fake, sugary water that just doesn't really appeal to me. The next question is by BakeBoy88. BakeBoy asked me, if you could create the storyline for a future Souls game, what would it be like? This is a good question. If I could create the basis for a future Souls game, it would probably be along the lines of this. There's a balance in the universe. There's good energy and there's bad energy. There's the heavens above and then there's hell below. There's a separate ruler for each of these realms. There's like a sort of a god entity ruling the heavens, and then there's like a devil entity that's ruling down below. I imagine that there are 3 lesser rulers of hell that are not as strong as the main ruler who controls all the bad energy, but nor are they strong enough together to destroy the ruler above who controls all the good energy. And the universe is all about feng shui. There has to be a constant war because the energy always has to flow and interchange. If one energy were to completely I guess the term would be overpower the other, then the universe would cease to exist, and the Earth would be destroyed, because they're constantly fighting over control of Earth's energy. So, I imagine these 3 entities would fuse together, somehow, into an entity that is more powerful than the ruler of the underworld, and they would kill him and take over. And in turn, they would absorb him and become stronger than the ruler above. And you would play the role of the mortal who is the only way to stop this entity from destroying all of the good energy and making the Earth cease to exist and turn into a chaotic wasteland. So I think that would be, I feel like that would be a really cool basis for a Souls game. You would have to be the one who is, the generic chosen one, I guess. And you would have to be able to stop this evil force from destroying everything.
Doctor, look at this.
The next question is by a name that I cannot pronounce because, well, it's in characters that I don't recognize. They're not like English letters or anything. It's not anything that I've ever seen, so I hate that I can't pronounce this name. I'm sorry. You know who you are, though. There are 11 questions that I'm going to have to answer really fast so we don't have to stay stuck here forever. Have you ever played any MOBAs? No, I don't like League of Legends or anything like that. I hate those games. The communities are terrible. Do you like FPS games? If not, then why? I do like FPS games. I've always been a fan of Battlefield. I used to love playing Battlefield Bad Company 2, and I used to love playing Call of Duty World at War. That's my favorite shooter. Do you have brothers or sisters? I do. I have 2 sisters. One is older than me, and one is younger than me. Do you know what's going on in the Pacific Ocean, particularly with the Fukushima reactor? Yes, everybody knows about that. It's currently leaking into the ocean right now, and it is actually spreading to the west coast of the United States. We're really hoping that it doesn't rough everything up too bad out there, but then again, there's not a whole lot we can do to stop it. I really wish that they would get it cleaned up, though. What's your favorite chocolate bar? I don't have a favorite chocolate. If I had to pick one, I'd probably pick Dove. Dove chocolate's amazing. What are your top 5 gaming developers? Definitely FromSoft, Capcom, Japan Studio, Oddworld Inhabitants, and I would have to say probably Namco Bandai. And his next question is, what type of music do you like? I like a lot of music. I listen to everything from electronic music to heavy metal. I really love Disney music, you probably already knew that. I like epic score music, like Two Steps from Hell, Hans Zimmer, Audio Machine, stuff like that. I really like the OST music to video games, like original soundtrack stuff, for games like Valkyrie Profile, the Souls games, Monster Hunter, stuff like that. I like a lot of music. And he said, did you play with toys when you were young? If yes, what kind, and what age did you stop? I did not play with necessarily action figures or anything. I wasn't a materialistic toy kind of kid. If I wanted to play with something, it was usually a stick I found on the ground. I imagined it was like Excalibur or something, and me and my friends always had like crazy sword fights when we were young. That's kind of how we were. That was my idea of a toy. His next question is, what hair color do you prefer on your sympathizing genre, and I hope you are not gay? Well, I'm not gay, I promise. I'm definitely interested in women, but I prefer natural hair color. Just like, I like brunettes better than blondes. Just regular, natural hair color is appealing to me. If your hair looks like cotton candy, kind of like Dreaded Cones, no offense to him, I'm probably not interested in you. His next question is, what kind of food do you eat on your daily basis? I cook. I don't eat fast food or anything. I usually don't buy food that's pre-made or anything unless I'm super, super lazy. But when I cook, it's typically some kind of meat or fish with mixed vegetables. I like pan-searing beef tips or salmon or some kinds of white fish. I don't really like tuna, but chicken breast, pork chops, stuff like that, I'll just pan-sear that. Or if I'm feeling like not super lazy, I'll grill that stuff, because grilling is a lot of work, but it tastes so good. And I don't know, I'll pan-sear like asparagus or broccoli or steamed vegetables, carrots, potatoes, stuff like that. That's usually what I eat. And his final question is, do you like reading books? If yes, what kind? I do enjoy reading. Now, I'm not into Harry Potter. I gave those books a shot, and I didn't really like them. My favorite book is a book called Dragon Rider by Cornelia Funk. She is also the author of Inkheart and Inkspell, if you've ever heard of those, and she was also the author of The Thief Lord, which is an excellent book. I like books that can take you everywhere, on an adventure that just doesn't end until the book is over. Those are the kind of books that I enjoy. I loved The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Those are definitely my favorite ever trilogy in a book series, if I had to pick one. So I do enjoy reading. The next question is by Sem Boskert, and they asked me, when will Bloodborne finish and Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin Expert Walkthrough start? And what is your job? Bloodborne is probably going to finish after I do the Chalice dungeons. I'll finish the first playthrough after that. Then Scholar of the First Sin and the Expert Walkthrough for Bloodborne will start. And my job? I work at Jungle Jim's International Market. There are only 2 of them in the world. They are both located in Ohio, and they are the largest grocery stores in the United States. That is where I work. The next question is by RoxJJ, and they asked me, if someone gave you $1 million, would you stop playing the Souls games? The answer is no. Absolutely not. Now, this is going to sound incredibly immature and unproductive and not ideal at all, but if someone gave me $1 million, this channel would be the very first thing that came to my mind. I would not be thinking about my car, or my living situation, or my job, or any of that. I would immediately think of how I could improve this channel with that money. The equipment I would buy, the editing software I would buy, all that stuff. If someone gave me $1 million, I guarantee you the very first pennies that I spend out of it are going to be with this channel. It'll have something to do with improving the quality for you guys. That is what I would do. So, no. In a sense, if someone gave me $1 million, I would play the Souls games more. Definitely not stop playing them. The next question is by Bass Fall, and they asked me, have you ever played Dota 2 or League of Legends? I have played League of Legends, and I did not enjoy it at all. League of Legends was incredibly annoying to me, because when people lose, they get so mad. Just the sheer hate and the negativity of that community drove me away after one time playing it. And I've never played Dota 2. I've never played any kind of Warcraft-based game. They never really caught my attention. The next question is by Dracos Drake the Dragon. And he asked me, what kind of build would you like to have in Bloodborne? Well, I'm still working on that. I would like to make a Blood Tinge arcane build. To me, that seems like such a good kind of... well, not that I think it'll be powerful in PvP or anything, but I think it would just be fun. I think Blood Tinge and arcane would be enjoyable to play with. Using the Chikage and the Rider Palash and, I don't know, some of those items, like the arcane items that I haven't been able to play with yet. I'm so eager to try them out, but I haven't made an arcane character off screen yet. I really want to. I just haven't had time. So my ideal build in Bloodborne, something I want to go for, is probably skill, Blood Tinge, and arcane. That's kind of what I want to focus on for PvP. The next question is by Rhino360. Rhino asked me, if you could implement any new mechanic into Dark Souls 3, what would it be? If I could create any mechanic for a future Dark Souls game, it would probably be the ability to crouch, or like go into prone or something, or crawl across the ground, because we've already seen that you can climb ladders and stuff, and you can hop over ledges, certain ledges, like in Demon Souls, but if you had the ability to crawl, or go into prone and get on your stomach, I feel like that would lead you to more hidden areas. Kind of like maybe a fallen tree trunk that's like stopping you, for like a pile of tree trunks that's stopping you from getting to a certain area, but if you notice, you can crawl underneath them, which might lead to like a chest or something. I don't know, because when I think of Souls games, my appeal is the loot. I really like finding secrets and stuff. That is the most enjoyable part of the Souls games for me, is finding things, because you have the will to explore. The next question is by Tristan Davis, and he asked me, what class will you pick for your upcoming playthrough of Scholar of the First Sin? And that I have no idea. When I make my first character on Scholar of the First Sin, it's going to be for PvP, specifically, and I will use that character to go through the DLC when I do the expert walkthrough for those. But I may end up just going with the Bandit. I don't know, it seems like the best starting class to me most of the time. So we'll see. The next question is a series of questions by Noah King. Do you still play MapleStory? Yes, I do. It's my guilty pleasure. What do you like about Bloodborne better than in Dark Souls? I like how much darker Bloodborne is. I like the horror aspect of the game, how terrifying it is. It's like a really kind of H.P. Lovecraft freakiness to it. It's really cool. And the thing I like about Dark Souls better may be the time period. I like medieval games better than the sort of like English Victorian era of Bloodborne. It's just my opinion though. In which game world would you rather live, Bloodborne or Dark Souls? Definitely Dark Souls. I would much rather be in a Dark Souls era. It would be more fitting to me. If you could change one thing about Bloodborne, what would it be? If I could change one thing about Bloodborne, I would change the NPC interaction. I would add more NPCs, and I would make their quest lines a little more fulfilling, because that is basically my only gripe about Bloodborne so far, is the NPCs. I wish you could do more with them. I wish they had bigger quest lines. I wish there were more of them that you could interact with. That would be amazing. If you could be one Bloodborne boss, who would it be? Probably, I would have to be Murgo's Wet Nurse, because that boss is so cool. I mean, just think about it. The blades and the whole Diablo kind of effect, yes, that was so cool. And the ability to turn the arena into a giant, dark, foggy mess where you can clone yourself and there's two of you attacking the player, that would be awesome to play as Murgo's Wet Nurse. And in Dark Souls, I would probably be the Capra Demon, because I think the Capra Demon's a total boss. Everybody struggles so hard with him, and for good reason. He's tough. I mean, the design of him with the dogs and everything, he is not meant to be easy. And I love the dual-wielding demon machetes. That's cool. I would be the Capra Demon. And if you could bring one weapon from Dark Souls to Bloodborne and vice versa, what weapon would it be? If I could bring any weapon from Bloodborne to Dark Souls, it would probably be Ludwig's Holy Blade, and if I could bring any weapon from Dark Souls to Bloodborne, I would bring the Moonlight Greatsword, because that would make it right. So far, Bloodborne is like the only Souls game without a Moonlight Greatsword, unless I just haven't found it yet. The next question is by MegaOZX, and he asked me, do you earn money from this channel? And the answer is no. I do not do YouTube for money. I don't have a partnership or anything. I don't monetize my videos. This is something that I do as a hobby, completely for free. The next question is by P30Virus, and they asked me, it was difficult to make the transition from mechanics of Dark Souls to Bloodborne mechanics, and the reason that question is worded a little bit differently is because I had to use Google Translate to translate it from Spanish. So if that is indeed your question, if I didn't mess it up too bad, it was mildly difficult, because Bloodborne has its own dedicated button to healing items, and in Dark Souls that was the button you used to two-hand your weapon. That's why I wasted so many blood vials in the beginning of the playthrough, because I was meaning to two-hand my weapon, and instead I used a blood vial. So, especially with the dash mechanic, it's not a roll, so it's faster, and it's harder to keep pace with what you're doing. Sometimes you dash one too many times, because you don't know how fast you're doing it, and the whole feel of the game is just different. There were some difficulties with learning the mechanics of Bloodborne versus Dark Souls. The next question is by Copper Phantom, good old Copper Phantom, and he asked me, was there ever a moment where you experienced complete euphoria in your 22 years of being on this planet? Unfortunately, the answer is no. I mean, I'm a happy guy. There have been times where I've been just absolutely joyous and really happy, but I don't think I've ever experienced complete euphoria yet. I may have a long life ahead of me, I hope so anyway, so I may experience it one day. We'll just have to wait and see. The next question is by Benjamin Jusic. Benjamin asked me, what is your favorite weapon class in Monster Hunter? If you played Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, could you recommend a good gunner armor for high-rank hunters? And lastly, you said that you love cooking. What is your favorite meal that you love making? Well, my favorite weapon class in Monster Hunter is dual blades. I love the moveset of the dual blades, and I think Gunlance follows closely after that, but the dual blades are great for status, and that's typically the role that I play when I'm hunting with friends. I am the status guy. Be it poison, sleep, paralysis, whatever, I usually end up being the guy with the dual blades who tries to status the monster as much as possible. And I just love the combos. I love how fluent the dual blades. It's like, I mean, it's like water the way you attack. It's so fluid, and just the dance of it, it's wonderful. It's so visually appealing when you use dual blades. And yes, I have played Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. I have 2,300 hours in that game. It's a disgusting amount of hours. Played that game since I was a kid. The best gunner set I can recommend in that game for high rank is the Puppet Master set. Yes, I know it sucks having to farm the Rajong to get the materials for that, but it's worth it. That gunner set has great skills on it. Go for that. And my favorite meal to cook, I really like cooking beef tips with rice and steamed vegetables, because I buy this brand of rice called Jasmine rice. It is very, very good. I rinse my rice, put it in a rice pot, steam it real good, get it all nice and tender, put a little bit of soy sauce on there, and then I take some olive oil and I mix that with butter, and I pan sear that so that it gets nice and hot, just rendered perfectly in the pan. And then I take small pieces of like filet medallions or top sirloin or ribeye or whatever kind of steak, and I pan sear that to a perfect medium rare. And then I take some broccoli or some carrots and potatoes, and then I put them in a pot and I steam those as well. And all of that mixed together on a plate, fantastic. It's probably my favorite meal. The next question is by Argyris Lafaris, and they asked me, how would you feel if they took out Black Dragon Calamite from Dark Souls? Good riddance, that's what I have to say. I honestly don't like the sword that you get from his tail. It's kind of useless in my opinion. And he's a good fight. I mean, it's fun to fight Calamite, but there are some things that he does that are just absolute bullshit. It's kind of frustrating. If he couldn't one-shot you at high levels, I like fighting him more. That's what he does. You could literally be like level 150 with a ton of vitality, and he has an attack that can just one-shot you. It's terrible. So, I mean, not that he's a bad boss or anything, but I wouldn't care if he left. Good riddance. The next question is by Muhammad Hanan. Muhammad asked me, what is your favorite weapon in Dark Souls 2 and Bloodborne? My favorite weapon in Dark Souls 2 is definitely the longsword, the blue longsword specifically. I think it looks great and I love the moveset. Killed many people with it. And my favorite weapon so far in Bloodborne is the stake driver. It's so cool, or the stake beast as I call it. That's a great weapon. Doesn't have any range, but it's very satisfying when you hit people with a charge attack. I can't wait to start using it in PvP. The next question is by Columbus Pope. Columbus says, Trace, my question is, will you marry me? And I was very shocked and flattered that I got this question from about 4 different people. And the answer is yes, I will marry all of you. We will all live happily ever after in a kingdom far beyond the highest level of clouds and a floating castle in the sky. We're going to live an amazing life of royalty, and it's going to be better than anything you've ever known in your life. He says also, with Scholar out, how will you tackle the expert walkthrough of both Bloodborne and Scholar? How will I go about doing that? Well, we're just gonna do it. Balls to the wall, man. We're just gonna jump in, because that's what we do around here. We get shit done. The next question is by NVR Nude Tobias. And he asked me, are you ready for Season 2 of Attack on Titan, and have you seen any of the live-action footage? Yes and yes. I am so pumped for Season 2 of Attack on Titan, even though I got impatient and I started reading the manga to go ahead and figure out what happens anyway. I still am excited to see it animated. And I'm really pumped to hear that original Japanese voice acting, because the Funimation dub of Attack on Titan is piss poor. I couldn't stand it. It was a disgrace. And yes, I've seen the live-action footage. The Titans and the live-action footage are terrifying. I cannot wait for that movie. It looks so good. I really hope it turns out to be every bit as good as the trailer. The next question is by Sui Ish. Sui Ish asked me, what are some of the first games you played growing up as a kid? Well, when I was growing up, I played Nintendo 64 and PlayStation 1. Some of my most enjoyable titles on Nintendo 64 were Spider-Man, Gauntlet Legends, Mario Kart 64, Turok the Dinosaur Hunter, Banjo-Kazooie. I was introduced to Diablo on computer at a very young age. I believe I was in 7th grade when I started playing Diablo. Everybody else was playing RuneScape, and I'm sitting over here just like, bitch, please, Diablo. But on PlayStation 1, I really enjoyed Oddworld. The Abe's Odyssey and Abe's Exodus, those games are incredibly fun. I really liked Ninja Shadow of Darkness. That's one of my favorite kind of action RPGs of that era. I liked the Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver games. Those were very cool to play. Tomb Raider was fun. I played the first couple Tomb Raiders as well. Those are just games that I enjoyed playing growing up before I got into more advanced games like the Souls games, obviously. The next question is by Martin Halsal. Martin asks me, if you could put yourself into any of the games you have played, which one would it be and why? And also, what would your gear be? If I could transport myself into the universe of any game, it would be Monster Hunter, hands down. And not just any Monster Hunter. It would be Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, the final PSP title in the West. If I could live in Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, that would be a dream come true. And my gear in that game, only because I can't see myself being an elite hunter. If I was really in Monster Hunter, I wouldn't be that great. I'd probably just go with standard hunter gear, because I like the way it looks, and it represents a novice level, which is probably where, I mean, that's probably the stage I would be at. So yeah. The next question is by Ben Tennerson. And Ben asked me, Bloodborne or Dark Souls PvP? It's really hard to answer this because I've only had one fight in Bloodborne so far. I really, really like PvP in Dark Souls 2. I like it better than Demon Souls or Dark Souls 1, but that one fight that I had in Bloodborne makes it feel pretty promising. if all of my fights in Bloodborne are like the first one I just had, I have a feeling I'm gonna like Bloodborne a lot more, because it's very fast-paced and it feels rewarding. So yeah, that's kind of my sort of sketchy answer for now. The next question is by Julian Bailey, and Julian asked me, what is your favorite weapon and armor set in Bloodborne? So far, my favorite weapon in Bloodborne is the stake driver. I really enjoy that weapon. I think it's really cool. It has its weaknesses, but it has more than enough strength to make up for it. And my favorite armor set so far is my Fashion Souls I have going on here. I like to cosplay as the Canehurst Hunter. He has the Canehurst helmet, Eileen's Crow armor, the Crow Hunter chest with like the weird wings on it, and then the Canehurst gauntlets and the Canehurst leggings. It's my favorite setup so far. The next question is by Sir Boopadoop, and it's funny how Sir Boopadoop came to find us. I was actually live streaming. I fought him in the arena, and he ended up sending me a message on Steam apologizing for his poor performance. And I just let him have it. I said, hey man, no judgment here. You're just having fun and playing the game just like we are. I'm actually live streaming right now. You should head on over to our stream and hang out with us, have a good time. And ever since then, he's just been part of the family. I think it's really interesting to think about. Sir Boopadoop asked me, what is your favorite and least favorite colored Skittle? My favorite colored Skittle is definitely the orange ones. I think they're the most delicious. My least favorite is the yellow. For some reason, it doesn't taste like lemon or banana, and there are a few other things in the world that are yellow that I can think of that would be appealing in a Skittle flavor. So, let's just not think about it. The next question is by Nicholas Woodward, and Nicholas asked me, what is your shoe size, and are you going to start streaming again soon? Nicholas, my shoe size is a 13. I have rather large feet, and I will stream again when I finish the first playthrough of Bloodborne. I will more than likely be streaming Chalice Dungeons and PvP Fight Clubs. The next question that I received is by Seth HDE, and they asked me, what was your worst nightmare and what was it about? The worst nightmare I've ever had was absolutely terrifying. It took place on a boat somewhere out in the Caribbean. It was like a cruise or something. This was like a 30-foot boat. It was a decent-sized yacht. It wasn't giant like the Titanic or anything, but it was pretty big. The strange thing about this dream is that it was me and one other guy on the boat. I was standing over on the railing, looking down into the water, and this guy was sitting in one of those lawn chairs, like what you see by a swimming pool. He was laying down on it, had his newspaper out, his sunglasses, and his hat. He was chilling. It was absolutely gorgeous out. The water was crystal clear and beautiful. The sky, there wasn't a cloud there. It was just beautiful. And the islands off in the distance, it started out great. But then, out of nowhere, the water starts to turn like dark green and choppy and murky. And then the clouds and stuff just take over the sky. It turns black. There's no thunder, there's no rain, there's no anything. It just turns dark. Like the end of the world or something. And then, out of nowhere, we hit these rocks. It's like this reef or something that we hit. And it ends up ripping the boat in half completely. This guy's on the other half of the boat, and I'm on the back half of the boat. And his half sinks and just gets devoured by the water. So he's in the water, flopping around and stuff. My half of the boat is still afloat, but it's sinking. Like, it's slowly sinking down. I'm getting closer and closer to the water. He starts swimming towards my half of the boat. Like, he's just flopping for his life, trying to get over to me so he can get out of the water. And that's when I see it. This giant black fin just tearing through the water, coming towards this guy. This fin is literally like 5 feet tall. It's huge and just like ripping through the water so fast you can just see white water just tearing on the sides of it. And it is going for him. And while it's closing in on him, it goes under. Can't see where it goes while he's swimming towards me. Now, what I did next was definitely not a reflection of what I would actually do in real life. It's just what my body did against my will in the dream. I had no control over what I was doing. When he started grabbing for the boat to climb up, I grabbed a broken broomstick next to my feet and basically just poked him in the face with it and held him down in the water. And what I saw next was just teeth come out of the water all around him, with just these black, lifeless eyes and the white underbelly of a great white shark just raise up and just rip him in half completely, just drag him under, blood just gushing out of the water, bubbling up, and he was gone. So the boat that I'm on, the half of the boat anyway that's left that I'm on, is sinking further and further and further down. It gets to the point where my feet and my legs are starting to go into the water, and there's not a whole lot I can do about it. And that's when I see it again. The fin starts tearing through the water on the surface coming towards me, and once I get down to about chest height in the water, and I can just feel myself sink down below the surface, that's when I see it. See, once I go underwater and my face is officially just beneath the surface, I can just like see the great white shark with its mouth open just coming at me a million miles an hour. I woke up just before it got to me, and I was terrified. Like, when I woke up, I was covered in sweat. I still thought I was underwater. I was absolutely terrified. I couldn't focus. I was freaking out. I didn't go to bed for like another 2 days. Now, I don't have like an irrational fear of sharks or anything. I actually think sharks are really cool. But that dream, woo, man, talk about terrifying. The next question is by Robert Terrio. And Robert asked me, when are you going to do Chalice Dungeons? What is your favorite color? And he also wanted to tell me that in some lore in every Dark Souls Arena game, they have the Blue Moon Greatsword in it. Do you think Bloodborne has this sword? I will be doing Chalice Dungeons after Part 30, consisting of Part 31 to the finish of the first playthrough. I will do Chalice Dungeons. My favorite color is purple. Royalty represent. And I'm not sure if Bloodborne has a Blue Moon Greatsword, or Moonlight Greatsword, or anything like that. I wish it did, because that's the only thing I've noticed so far that makes it completely different than all the other FromSoft games. There's no reference to Moonlight Greatsword, because even outside of Souls games, in games like Armored Core, they have Moonlight Greatsword in those games. And even the ancient titles like King's Field, they have the Moonlight Greatsword in those games too. So, I don't know. There may be. Could be in a DLC or something. We'll have to find out. And the final question for Part 1 of Episode 3 of the Let's Play Dark Souls HD Q&A is by Wes Tim. He asked a few questions. His first question is, I am saving up for a PlayStation 4 and Bloodborne and was wondering if I can add you and play Bloodborne with you. The answer is yes. Send me a friend request on PlayStation Network and I will gladly add you. Head over to my live streams and I will be playing with the viewers. His next question is, how old are you? I am 22 years old. I was born on April 8th, 1993. His next question is, you are a very successful YouTuber and you say you've gone through college and was wondering how you started this whole thing. Well, yes, I did go to college, and it's expensive. The reason I didn't finish college is because I can't afford it. And I started YouTube because I watched Epic Namebro, and I wanted to make useful videos. He inspired me to create content that is applicable. Something that people can learn from, something that they can use to their advantage. I didn't want to start YouTube just so I could be some clown that makes people laugh. I mean, it's cool if I can make people laugh and enjoy the video in the process, but my main focus was that I wanted to create videos that were sort of like his. Something useful that people can use to their advantage, something that they can learn from. His next question is, where are you from? I am from Cincinnati, Ohio. I've lived here my whole life. And his final question is, do you play a game called Brave Frontier? I have not played Brave Frontier. I know of it. Everybody that I know who has played it says that it's fantastic, but I have not had a chance to try it myself. So that is going to wrap up episode 1 of the Q&A number 3 with your host, Let's Play Dark Souls HD. And in the next episode, we are going to wrap up with the final other 50 questions. I didn't think I was going to get this many questions, but it turns out that I did. And I'm going to answer every single one of you with the best answer I possibly can. So, Thank you guys so much for watching as always. I have been your faithful host, Let's Play Dark Souls HD, and I will catch you guys in part 2 of episode 3 of the Let's Play Dark Souls HD Q&A. Catch you later. And incoming Mega Clutch, boom! The son of Legolas bows to no one.